Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. Narcissists can be some of the cruelest and most toxic people you will ever have to endure, and it is especially heartbreaking when they are your parents, and your first examples of what love and empathy are supposed to look like. And just the way it is, narcissistic parents are inherently too cruel and dangerous due to their disorder and symptoms, to avoid being abusive. NPD parents employ triangulation and psychological abuse techniques to divide and conquer in their unholy family-style war games. This abusive division, carried out entirely behind closed doors, does a terrible disservice to their children. Such a destructive family dynamic is perpetuated by individuals with such disordered personalities. This diabolical parental egocentrism and soulless cruelty should never have access to, or custody of any child. Their absolute disregard for the best interests of their own children and their future is profoundly destructive. Imagine a childhood where love is conditional, achievements are your sole worth, and your emotions are an inconvenience. Unlike overt narcissists who exhibit grandiosity and seek attention, covert narcissists present themselves as humble, self-effacing, and even altruistic. They manipulate through passive-aggressive behaviors, guilt-tripping, and emotional manipulation rather than overt displays of superiority. This is the reality for children raised by covert narcissists, parents who wield manipulation with a velvet glove. They wield manipulation with the subtlety of a magician, leaving their victims confused and questioning their own sanity. When it comes to parenting, covert narcissists can leave an indelible mark on their children, often setting the stage for a lifetime of emotional and psychological challenges. Unlike overt narcissists who display their grandiosity and self-centeredness openly, covert narcissists are more subtle in their manipulation and control, and wield a particularly insidious power. They often present themselves as caring and supportive parents, making it difficult for children to recognize the abuse they are enduring. Growing up in a household with covert narcissist parents can be a complex and emotionally challenging experience. Children with overtly bullying parents swiftly learn to defend themselves as they become adept at detecting the signs of brewing anger, much like a finely tuned seismograph, and do what they can to brace themselves for conflict. However, what happens when a parent's deceit is masked by a smile, and acts of cruelty are disguised as acts of kindness? When a parent hides abuse and frames it as love, it is that much more difficult to recognize and even harder to call out. But, being dependent on their caregivers for physical and emotional survival, children have no choice but to return to the hand that feeds, even when it grabs, slaps, and withholds. Covert narcissists are puppeteers, who meticulously craft a web of control that grooms their children for a lifetime of serving their fragile egos. In today's video, we will delve into how covert narcissist parents groom their children for abuse, and the long-term impact it can have on their psychological well-being. Grooming, typically associated with sexual predators, is a process by which an abuser gains a victim's trust and desensitizes them to inappropriate behavior. Similarly, covert narcissist parents groom their children by gradually eroding their sense of self-worth and boundaries, ultimately conditioning them to accept abuse as normal. One of the most deceptive tactics used by covert narcissist parents is the facade of caring and concern. They may appear to be loving and attentive, showering their children with praise and affection in public or in front of others. However, this display of affection is often superficial and conditional, designed to manipulate the child's perception of their parent as being loving and supportive. Covert narcissist parents adeptly exploit the cultural assumptions and societal beliefs, which chronicle in countless ways that all parents want the best for their children. They bank on these cultural assumptions to hide their abuse and neglect, and gaslight their children about their behavior by leaning hard into their unimpeachable status as loving parents. Such parents are adept at manipulating family members, including an enabling partner or golden child, as well as individuals within their social circle, to reinforce their narrative. Children in this scenario struggle with the cognitive dissonance of what they are told about that parent, versus how that parent actually behaves behind closed doors. They play the paragon of virtue in front of others, and it is common for a covert narcissist parent to cultivate an image, in and beyond the family, that they are caring, principled, devoted, and self-sacrificing, while, on the flip side, covert narcissists pit their children against each other. One child, the golden child, is showered with conditional affection, while the other, the scapegoat, becomes the target for the parent's negativity. This dynamic isolates the scapegoat, and creates a distorted sense of family loyalty. They dole out praise with strings attached, and are masters of the backhanded compliment. They extend praise that's laced with subtle criticism or comparisons to siblings or peers. A child's achievement becomes a reflection of the parent's brilliance, not the child's own efforts. This warps the child's sense of self-worth, making them crave external validation and perpetually striving for a never-attainable level of approval. Imagine excelling in a school play, only to hear, "You were wonderful, darling, but if you projected your voice a bit more, you would have truly stolen the show." This leaves the child feeling like they'll never quite measure up, a feeling that lingers well into adulthood. Covert narcissists excel in employing microaggressions. The narcissistic personality, by nature, tends to be competitive, envious, and inclined toward hostile attacks. Unlike the overt narcissist's blatant one-upmanship, the covert narcissist parent utilizes microaggressions disguised as oversights, slips of the tongue, humor, offers of help, or expressions of caring concern. For the child subjected to such abuse, it is death by 1,000 cuts. Covert narcissists function under the guise of plausible deniability and utilize indirect methods of manipulation like dismissal, redirection, minimizing, gaslighting, and triangulation. They often tailor the abuse in a way that allows them to deny it plausibly if questioned by their children or other adults. They distort reality, deny their actions, and undermine their children's perceptions, causing them to doubt their own sanity, thus making them more susceptible to manipulation. Another common tactic used by covert narcissist parents is the invalidation of their children's feelings and experiences. A child's feelings are dismissed or belittled as being either too sensitive or overreacting, and events are rewritten to suit the parent's narrative. This constant invalidation can lead to a child doubting their own perceptions and feelings, making them more susceptible to manipulation and abuse. Covert narcissist parents often offer love and affection conditionally, based on the child's ability to meet their emotional and psychological needs. Children learn that love is something to be earned, leading to a constant striving for approval and validation. This conditional love can leave the children feeling unlovable and perpetually anxious about their worthiness. They give intermittent reinforcement. Covert narcissist parents commonly maintain control over their children by intermittently providing desired forms of validation, such as attention, praise, nurturing, and gifts. This confusing push-pull dynamic keeps children in the game and coming back for more. Covert narcs excel at playing the victim. They weave elaborate tales of misfortune, painting themselves as the perpetual underdog. Taking on the role of the victim enables the covert narcissist parent to deflect responsibility and avoid blame, all the while eliciting sympathy for the perceived ways in which others, particularly their children, have let them down, neglected them, or caused them harm. Parents who portray themselves as victims often employ guilt and pity tactics to seek attention and caretaking not only from their children, but also from individuals outside the family circle. In families with covert narcissist parents, children often find themselves in a role reversal situation where they are forced to cater to the emotional needs of the parent. The child becomes the caregiver, responsible for soothing the parent's insecurities and maintaining the family's facade of normalcy. The child, yearning for a happy home, becomes emotionally entangled, responsible for the parent's happiness. This creates a dynamic where the child's needs are disregarded in favor of the parent's fragile ego. This role reversal can stunt the child's emotional development and rob them of a normal childhood. Covert narcissists manipulate their children's emotions to maintain control. They use guilt, shame, and emotional blackmail to ensure compliance and suppress any attempts at independence or self-expression. Children learn to prioritize their parents' needs and feelings over their own, perpetuating the cycle of abuse. The silent treatment is another potent tool in the covert narcissist's arsenal. A disapproving glance, a slammed door, or withdrawal of affection is enough to send shivers down the child's spine. This emotional manipulation creates a constant state of walking on eggshells, making the child hypervigilant of the parent's moods. They become experts at anticipating the parent's needs and desires, prioritizing those over their own emotional well-being. Covert narcissist parents often foster dependence in their children by discouraging independence and self-reliance. They may infantilize their children, treating them like they are incapable of making decisions or taking care of themselves. This creates a cycle of dependency where the child becomes increasingly reliant on their parent for validation and approval, making it easier for the parent to exert control and manipulate them. Covert narcissists look good by comparison. In numerous narcissistic households, a covert narcissist parent is paired with an overtly abusive and neglectful counterpart, allowing the covert parent to appear reasonable, selfless, easygoing, or otherwise good in comparison, while playing up the long-suffering martyr narrative. Children are left with no option but to seek out whatever caregiving they can from the less volatile parent in the home. Covert narcs have a blatant disregard for boundaries. They invade their children's privacy, dismiss their feelings, and impose their will, without any regard for the child's autonomy. This constant boundary violation teaches children that their boundaries are insignificant, and that their needs are secondary to their parents' desires. Covert narcs excel at creating an enmeshed family dynamic. They blur the lines between themselves and their children, often confiding in them about adult problems or seeking emotional validation that a partner should provide. The child, yearning for a sense of normalcy and connection, becomes emotionally entangled. Their own needs and desires become an afterthought, sacrificed at the altar of the parent's constant need for attention and support. This dynamic fosters an unhealthy codependency, robbing the child of the space to develop a healthy sense of self. The damage inflicted by covert narcissists is insidious. It's a slow poison that erodes a child's self-esteem, sense of reality, and ability to form healthy relationships. They may struggle with anxiety, depression, and codependency in their adult lives. Despite this, it is common for children to continue to cling to the belief that a covertly abusive, neglectful, and abandoning narcissistic parent loves them and would never hurt them, despite ample ongoing evidence to the contrary. Groomed from infancy to accept and excuse that parents' exploitative and often harsh conduct, they internalize blame for the relationship's shortcomings. If an overtly abusive parent is also present, they perceive the lesser of the two evils as their only option. For children, To eventually disbelieve the negative messaging of narcissistic parents, they have to have others they love, to show them the differences and contrasts. The big disparity between healthy love and unhealthy love can only be made clear by the contrast of character between those with NPD and those without. Any child can heal if they don't lose hope, are honest, and do the abuse recovery work. Even on the dark days, all is not lost. It's only when we let go of the illusion of ever figuring out how to earn that parent's love, that we come to realize, not only can we thrive without it, but we've been thriving all along, thanks to our own resilience. We come to understand that it wasn't our lack of worthiness that led that parent to inflict pain upon us, but rather their deep-seated dysfunction, possibly stemming from extensive generational trauma. The amazing resilience within each human and child to grow emotionally, even if they have only one other loving relative or person of substance in their life to counteract narcissistic influence, it can be enough, and is so important. Breaking free from the grip of covert narcissist parents can be a daunting task, but it is not impossible. Recognizing the signs of covert narcissism and understanding the grooming tactics they employ is the first step towards reclaiming one's autonomy and self-worth. Seeking therapy, setting boundaries, and surrounding oneself with a supportive network are crucial in breaking the cycle of abuse and fostering healing. So, if you recognize these tactics in your own upbringing, know that healing is possible. It's a journey of self-discovery and reclaiming your narrative. So, I hope this content was helpful. As always, please consider sharing and subscribing to my channel. Your support is greatly appreciated. Feel free to share your experiences in the comments section below. I express my gratitude to everyone for tuning in and watching. Let us help spread the awareness and lead healthier and fulfilling lives.